Hello, welcome to the channel. Thanks for joining us. My name is Jardine, and today we are going to look at a RRSP meltdown strategy and how this can potentially save you thousands of dollars in taxes. Look, you can find lots of videos out there just now that will come up with complex ways of doing this, but today I'm going to show you in the simplest of terms how it can be done. RRSPs are very beneficial vehicles to us for deferring tax whilst you're still working. The word deferring here though is the big one. You aren't eliminating tax, you are simply pushing it out to a later date. The biggest advantage is for those of you who had a high marginal tax rate during your working years and a much lower tax rate during your retirement years. That is the whole idea behind RRSPs at the end of the day. You get a nice big tax break of potentially just over 50% while you're still working and making a decent annual salary, and then once you retire, you end up drawing the funds back out in a much lower tax bracket, possibly even 20% or less. All this assumes though that you live a long life and draw down your RRSP over time. That doesn't happen in all cases though. You don't need me to tell you that. So what happens if you pass away early? Well, here's the kicker. The government wasn't going to let you have your cake and eat it now, will they? That would be highly unlike the government. So what happens is, whatever the value of your RRSP is on the date of your death, you have to include this on the tax return for that year. Assuming you still have a sizable amount in RRSPs, this can mean give or take 50% handed off to the government. Well, that sounds like something I can imagine that most of you would like to avoid given the choice. I thought so. So what can you do? Well, let's take a look at my friend Pamela here. Pamela is a single 59-year-old with 2 adult children. Pamela's goal, first and foremost, like most of you, is to make sure that she doesn't run out of money herself. But she would also like to maximise the potential estate that she passes on to her 2 children. Pamela has $600,000 in RRSP assets with no other taxable income other than CPP and OAS, which will start at age 65. We have used conservative return assumptions of 4.5% annually. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you 2 scenarios. In both scenarios, we are going to assume that Pamela passes away at the age of 80. Okay? We don't want Pamela to pass away at the age of 80, but you know, it's a possibility in life. So, scenario 1. As the default for many, Pamela just draws her RRIF minimums each year. So, based on the assumptions that we've used, she ends up with RRIF assets of $537,878. The tax on her death at age 80 is $257,834, leaving a net estate of $280,044. You don't need me to tell you that that tax stings. You know, that's a horrible one to take. So let's look at a different scenario. Same assumptions, but this time Pamela draws an additional $7,500 each year over and above the minimum RRIF and contributes $6,000 each year to a tax-free savings account. The end result at Pamela's age 80 is RRIF assets of $273,732 and TFSA assets of $202,699 for total assets of $476,431. You can see here that the total assets on death is about $60,000 less than scenario 1. But the key point to make is that the taxes payable on Pamela's death have been reduced to $118,204 for a net estate of $358,227. That is a huge difference, making up the best part of $80,000 more that Pamela is now passing on to her 2 kids. I know I would rather have $80,000 in my kids' pocket as opposed to the government. Alright, well that example was all fair and well, but what if you're not Pamela? How can you implement this? This example showed Pamela as single, but it can easily be done for married couples too. We have some rules of thumb that you should follow. Number 1. The benefits of this strategy start to become significantly reduced once you start to hit the OAS clawback range, which right now is just under $80,000 of net income. You generally don't want to be creeping into the OAS clawback unless you feel that your life expectancy has shortened substantially. Number 2. Focusing on the tax rates is key. Maximising the lowest tax rate is a no-brainer for most. As you start to climb through the tax brackets, that's when you should start to consider your overall health and general life expectancy and whether the additional tax payable now will be worth it over the long term. Number 3. With the additional funds that you draw out of your RRSP, maximising a TFSA is another no-brainer. If you don't have available TFSA room though, you have to consider the increased investment income that you will have to report each year on dividends and interest earned on the funds withdrawn. So keep that in mind. You want to make sure that you're covering off all bases here, before you step forward and do this. And obviously I would recommend you do talk to somebody on that, but that's up to you. So yeah, do keep that in mind though. Hopefully that's given you a few things to think about as part of your overall strategy to maximise your estate and let the government only have the bare minimum. Now, we've gone through this process with several of our clients, and generally speaking, there is room to implement this in some form or another for most of you out there. Ultimately, like a lot of things in life, it all depends on how long you live for. Nobody has a crystal ball for that. So it's about trying to find the balance that works for now and then for later in life. If you do have any questions on this or want to run anything by me, please feel free to comment below or reach out. Thanks very much for joining us today. I will see you next time, and if you haven't already done so, it really helps us, so please do subscribe to the channel, give us a thumbs up. You have yourself a great rest of the day.